Hello, beautiful alchemist. Happy Taurus season. Happy May. My name is Yolanda, also known as the Energetic Alchemist, and I am here for the Energy of the Month update. I come and do these little videos for us every single month so that we can have consideration for the kind of energies we will be experiencing collectively, so that if we catch ourselves bumping into any of these experiences, we have the clarity and the understanding, and then also we'll have the mindfulness of deciding how to respond or how to best work with all of these different energies that are helping us in our processes of evolution. So, I have to say, before we get into Taurus season, it is very interesting being on the heels of, coming off of Aries season. So, Aries, as you know, a lot of you know, it is a fire sign, it's cardinal fire. So I always think of Aries as like striking the match and really this initiating kind of bold, audacious energy. And it brings a lot of focus to how we are identifying ourselves, like who we know ourselves to be, who we are becoming, and really feeling inspired by what is driving us. It's a time I think where a lot of us even reflect on what we're doing that feels in alignment and true to us versus what we may have just been doing for a while out of pattern, habit, conditioning. And also, we just go through processes of transformation where we grow out of old cycles. So, of course, this correlates with the spring and this time of renewal. So, pretty much the majority of last month, we were in that kind of energy with Aries. And now we move into Taurus season, and Taurus is earth, but it is also fixed earth. So, I like to think of it as with Aries, we had all of this fire that was activated, and now it's being passed on to be contained, to be worked with more deliberately. So it may not be as spontaneous or as daring, energetically speaking, but something will come in to help us to be a little more grounded, more stabilized, more mindful, and even more methodical about how we are using our fire or our life force or our energy. So this season, this month, we'll really have this invitation of, um, I want to say just that, having some mindfulness before acting. Um, Not just, being so spontaneous, but rather thinking about the consequence, the potential outcomes, the options that are available. Now, the opposite of Taurus is Scorpio. So we have this kind of lesson this month, which we'll talk about more in the full moon, but we have this lesson between these two opposing signs of being grounded and stable versus transforming and going through a death cycle. So there's going to be, it's kind of like we can even think of that axis this month of being a lot of shift and change. There may be some things that are quite uncomfortable. Maybe there are choices or decisions or just shifts and changes in life, whatever it may be. It could be internal or external. But at the same time, that Taurus energy is like have both feet planted on the ground and also have some consideration for your resources, your stability, your security, even the pleasures in life, what it is that you enjoy, what you like to indulge in. So there is this kind of balance of the duality where we find harmony in the middle ground as all of these beautiful signs support us in learning throughout the year. So I just want to say, so that I don't forget, happy birthday to all of you beautiful Tauruses out there. Happy birthday to the bulls. And as we move through the month, we will then move into Gemini season, which is an air sign. And we come out of the more kind of grounded, earthy, considerate uh, Taurus energy, and we'll move into the more social, very analytical, more curious Gemini. But we'll talk more about Gemini next month. So we start out this month with, of course, the teachings card, I always show you the card that corresponds with the month from my oracle deck, the Energetic Alchemist Oracle. And you can see in this card, the student is actually receiving like a reiju or attunement from their teacher. You can see a depiction in the background of the great bright light with all of the elements. And it's really about the teachings, the illumination. So, everything in life, what we go through, whether you have a Reiki attunement or not, there are constantly things in life that are activating us, that are bringing things into our conscious awareness about ourselves. This life, this journey is constantly bringing into illumination what our wounds may be, what our strengths are. There's always this like inner desire to know and understand the truth about ourselves, our purpose, our life, all of these things. It's not unique to us individually, but how we go about learning, recognizing, awakening, coming to understand may look very different. But at the core, it's all the same. We have this divine intelligence that we're all one with or all of. We're all of this like one mind, higher consciousness, higher frequency. And we have this beautiful experience of uh, being able to come into the material realm under the illusion of being separate from. So we come in and we have this experience of being individuals, just like we talk about in Aries season. And we have these very individualized experiences to help us grow, evolve, shift, and change on soul level. If that's what you believe, that's not everyone's belief, but if that's what you believe. And it's all this journey of coming back into this recognition of not just what we learn along the way, but recognizing we were never separate in the first place. So, as I said, that kind of that activation, that coming into this new identity reminds me so much of Aries season. And we move into Taurus, where then it's not just that we're here in body and we get to be these individuals, but we also have the gift of sensory. That's where Taurus comes in. So Taurus is ruled by Venus. And yes, it is an earth sign. So it's very tactile, but it points to, the sensuality, the senses, what, not just what brings us pleasure, but how we experience pleasure, right? So again, think of your sensory. How are you in relationship to body, and how much do you pay attention to the way that you enjoy the various expressions of life? This could be the joy of touch, the joy of sight, the joy of smell, the joy of hearing, the joy of taste, right? All of these different ways that we're able to connect within this realm and take in information and translate and perceive overall to experience. So, Taurus, that's why it's like this beautiful invitation to slow down and tune in, not just whipping through life, right? Not just going with that strike of the match of Aries, but slow down. Keep the inspiration, keep the fire, but contain it. And now be very mindful about how you direct it and how you use it. Because what is it that you actually want to experience? So, we could think of every area of our lives and come up with a laundry list of what we will want to experience and what that may look like to us. But the trick is not to get so attached to your story that you don't allow room for the natural unfolding and progression, or even paying attention to how you may be guided or led in a higher way. We can desire, and that can initiate us to be motivated to take some actions to work towards our goals, our ideas, our plans. But again, if we get so rigid and attached to it, it can be a hindrance, because then we have these expectations that may cause a lot of disappointment. We may paint these pictures, and maybe within us, we have some resistance towards the very thing we say that we want. So then we start to doubt, like, why isn't this working out for me if this is what I want? Is there any conflicting feeling around it within you? It's kind of like, it reminds me of, a lot of people say, Like, I want to be with the love of my life, but they'll also simultaneously have the story or belief that they will never find the love of their life. So there's this conflict of how we are creating. Sometimes we create from the state of a tug of war. But if we use this energy again and slow down and really tune into not just what I desire, but how I feel about it. What is my real relationship to what I am building, creating, experiencing in my life? And when we look and reflect and come to understand ourselves in deeper ways without judging, just for the sake of understanding, we can then also start to clarify where healing may be supportive to open us up to aligning to or acclimating to frequencies that are more resonant for where we are right now. The reason I'm saying right now is because a lot of times those conflicting ideas or beliefs or desires are we want something now, but we're still functioning from a belief or a wound or an idea or a story from the past. So you may want the new love, the love of your life, but if you're still in fear because of being hurt in the past by someone else, there's this tug of war. There's not a clear alignment, a clear pathway, a clear projection from you that will then help you to like call forward or come into alignment with. There's a lot of disturbance and static. It doesn't mean that it won't happen. It just often causes a lot of frustration and then a lot of doubt. Back it up. All of this work is about getting to know ourselves, getting to know our relationship to the elements, which are all contained in the element of earth. So, in the realm of energetic alchemy, and I talk about this a lot, and there's so many different systems that actually talk about this, but the elements are related to different aspects of our design. So, for example, we have the element of air, which is related to our consciousness, our mind, our thoughts. What is your relationship to your air? We have the element of fire, which is a representation of our own fire, our will, our drive, our determination. What is your relationship to those energies? We have the element of water, which is representative of our emotion and also intuitive aspect of the mind. But what is your relationship to that? And then also, again, the container of earth that holds all the other elements, also reflection of body, what is material, right? So when we pause and slow down, turn off the phone, get off the TV, get off the computer, and we take a moment to just sit and even tune into the body, how does it feel? The body has a lot of stories that it is holding, a lot of memories that it is holding, a lot of inspiration and excitement that it may be holding. Some of these elements of your consciousness are repressed and tucked away for one reason or another, and some things are at the forefront of your mind. But you are the one that can and should get to know you to understand you. Because once you start to pause enough to recognize your feeling, pause to recognize enough your stories, what you hold, you'll also start to understand how you are creating in your life right now, where you may be repeating patterns and habits, but also where you may be ready to forgive, to understand, to have more compassion for you and different experiences that you've gone through. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because, again, I said we have this axis this month of, Scorpio and Taurus. We have that scorpionic energy that can take us really deep. It can be very intense and it can be disruptive. But at the same time, we have the Taurus energy that is very nurturing and tactile and more grounded. But both are necessary. And in the middle, the unification of these two is where the magic really happens. So if you get out your calendar, it's also how we learn through the teachings card. So if you get out your calendar, take note of what's coming up this month. There are several astrological events. There are just a few that I am going to mention to you, but there are several more. So on actually the first weekend of the month, and the day I'm recording this, actually May 2nd, is the first day of the Reiki Rays very first Reiki Mastery Weekend. So many of you are familiar with the Reiki Rays Global Reiki Healing Summit that happens annually. I have been very thankful to be a part of that the last I think 3 years, 3 or 4 years as a co-host. And um, the the summit is always, interviews, and it's not necessarily interactive. Sometimes the guests, the teachers will guide us through some exercises, but it's not live. Whereas this weekend, Reiki Rays is putting on the Reiki Mastery Weekend, which is a live event. And they have a lineup for today, which is May 2nd, but I'm sure you would have missed it by now. Although I did send an email out to invite you. It was a free event. It was an introduction to the weekend where Helene Williams did a guided journey to help us all connect to just being more grounded, being more embodied, and also guided us through a self-healing meditation. Now, on Saturday and Sunday, this is when the teaching sessions begin. So there are 3 teachers that will be teaching on Saturday, and there are 3 teachers that will be teaching on Sunday. So I just want to let you know who they are. So if you want to join on Saturday, we have Colleen and Robin Benelli. They will be doing Reiki journey techniques to reveal your next steps. And then the afternoon session that day is intuitive Reiki tools and techniques from the original Japanese Reiki teachings with Torsten Lang. And then the evening session on Saturday will be unlocking the hidden power of Reiki symbols, ancient wisdom for modern transformation with Mark Hosak and Eileen Weissman. Now that day will be hosted by Heather McCutcheon, and you can actually see Heather. I interviewed her recently on Reiki Radio, and she and I have been co-hosting the summit together the last few years. Now, for the Sunday sessions, I'm very excited about because I know some of these teachers personally. The morning session, we start out with my teacher, Franz Steiner, and he will be guiding us through some chanting. So this will be about the voice of Reiki, chanting and mantras for inner transformation. And the afternoon session, another beautiful teacher that I love and have worked with quite a bit through the years. Her name is Parita Shah, and she is going to guide us through reading chakra energy, intuitively translating your consciousness. And then the evening session is with Ellen Malloy, and she is going to guide us through Reiki with angels practices to activate higher healing frequencies. So I will be hosting on Sunday. So in either case, if you want to join the event, of course, use the link below, register right away because the sessions are not recorded. So if you want to come and attend the Reiki Mastery Weekend, to not miss anything, you have to attend live. Again, just to tell you, it is not going to be recorded. So if you want to attend, you have to come live. So that is the very first weekend. The classes are on Saturday and Sunday, May 3rd and 4th. Now, on May 4th, we also have that planet Pluto going retrograde in Aquarius. Pluto has been spoken about so much recently, mainly because it is going into a new sign, or it has moved into Aquarius. And this can really activate some energy of, power struggles, but more specifically with like groups or collaborations because of it being in Aquarius. And, the retrograde energy kind of is like that energy going backwards or inwards. So there may be some challenges or a bit of struggle as it relates to these Aquarian themes of, group, collaborating, friends, these types of things. But if we have this in our awareness, like I said in the beginning, we can have the mindfulness to know, take a breath. We're not the only one feeling the tension. It is being felt by other people too. So we can use our conscious breath to try to have some grace with ourselves, but also having grace for other people. Now, depending on our charts, of course, all of these energies interact with us and show up for all of us differently. But it's just to have, in your awareness again, should it come up, you're not like, what in the heck is going on? Is this something in the air? I think of how many times we say that in life. Is there something in the air? But a big thing I want you to think about throughout this month, if your buttons are pushed at all, remember that Taurus and Taurus season in of itself is trying to help us also illuminate what we value, what really matters to us. So keep that in mind. You can even write it in your planner, like at the top of the planner itself. What do I value? And some of us, we think we already know what that is. And again, we're functioning from some old story, maybe things that we were aligned with before. But a lot of us are going through many changes in life. And there are certain things that then become more important, or we prioritize, or we understand differently as we grow. And so what we value may even come to change. So this month, it's really good to acknowledge, like, from what you're thankful for to the gap in between of what pushes your buttons and triggers you. Within it all, what are you recognizing as being of value to you? And how are you using your energy, directing your energy to pour into living in more alignment, or acclimating to the frequency of being an example of what it is that you are, what it is that you value. This kind of reminds me of Shimpenden, which is Reiki level 3. It means mystery teachings. So some of you know that I taught Shoden and Okiden, which is Reiki level 1 and 2. I did a 5-day retreat in San Diego back in September. And then just recently in March, the end of March, that same group, we got back together again to do a 5-day retreat for level 3, which again is Shimpenden. But in the more traditional lineages, there's not the title necessarily of Reiki master, but rather a Reiki teacher is called a Shihan. And Shihan means good example. And so that just reminds me of this in Taurus season, and thinking again about what is it that we value, what matters to us, what are our code of ethics, even thinking about the Gokai, the Reiki principles, how we're living in expression. Are we being an example of what we say is true to our heart, is true to our way? Yo o hageme. Yeah. Alrighty. So after the 4th, we jump down to the 12th of the month. On the 12th, we have the full moon in Scorpio. And I already talked about that Scorpio Taurus axis. But Scorpio in of itself, again, it's a water sign, and it's fixed water, and it's considered to be intense. It is a type of energy that can go very emotionally deep, deeper than most are comfortable with. This sign is also surrounded and kind of cloaked in this air of mystery. But it's about, again, this deep level transformation for the sake of us reclaiming our power, our strength. And sometimes that means we have to go into the shadows, into the discomfort, to really understand what it is that we hold and why, and what's been feeding our story and our condition. Once we face it, it's no longer a shadow. Once you shed light on it, it's no longer just a shadow. Now it's exposed. But how you deal with what you start to recognize, that will determine how you experience the realization, the recognition, the exposure. So, again, that's why so much of this work points to not being critical with yourself. It's our recognizing, our self acknowledgement is not to belittle ourselves or beat ourselves up or go into regret or these kinds of things. It's to have compassion for ourselves, for the version of us that needed the compassion back then, that needed the understanding back then, but had to go through whatever you went through to understand what you understand now. So the version of you now can have a lot of compassion and gratitude for the version of you that went through whatever you went through and had the resilience to be exactly where you are now, wiser than you were before. So there's a lot of beauty to this energy, but a lot of people hear, Scorpio or Pluto, and they're like, oh no, transformation. But that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing in this work. That's what it's about. So if you're here, there must be some part of you that is not afraid of changing, even though it may be uncomfortable sometimes. But this energy, remember, when the moon is full, its opposite sign is in what the sun is in. So the sun is in Taurus, this full moon is in Scorpio. So again, we have that balance. While something may erupt or be revealed, something unexpected, while we may recognize or realize something even about ourselves that perhaps we just weren't aware of, it wasn't clear, that Taurus energy holds us steady so that we have the strength to really move through these depths or these intense type of energies. So this moon, I always think, like be clear about what you feel and why. Be clear. You can only be clear about it if you're honest about it. Be clear about what you feel and why. And also understand how everybody else has their own stuff that may be coming up too, their own realizations that they're working through too. It's not just you. So have compassion across the board, right? Also, this energy is great for all of us to recognize how our contributions impact the whole. Again, it's not just about us individually. We're in this together. How we are being, how we are expressing, it's contributing to the exchanges that we're having. It's contributing to the bigger collective picture. What frequencies are you matching? Yeah. So, the full moon, as we all know, I always say it's a good time to check what you are full of, what is being illuminated. Now, after the full moon, we're moving on to May 20th, which is when the sun moves out of Taurus and it's going to move into the sign of Gemini. So now we'll move out of that earthy, grounded, methodical energy and we move into an airy, social, curious energy of Gemini. That again is on May 20th. The big thing about Gemini season is communication as well. And then you think about it, like there's this air of curiosity, but Gemini is not, okay, I think of it this way. Gemini's opposite is Sagittarius. And that energy, Sagittarius, is more about how we learn through experience, how we learn through exploration, how we learn through travel, how we learn through higher mind, higher education, higher expression. Gemini is a little more close to home. It's still like no less brilliant, but it's like, how do we learn and satisfy the curiosities that maybe are a little more accessible, like learning through our peers, learning through our siblings, learning through the people that are closest to us, picking their brains, asking them questions, doing things with them, socializing, networking, meeting new people. But again, it may be more local, more close to home. So in Gemini season, and it just happens to be, on the heels of moving out of spring and into summer, it's a time to get out there, explore. What are you curious about? Is there anything you've been wanting to learn? Are there places that you've been wanting to go? Are there people that you have been wanting to meet with, learn from, talk to, whatever it may be? Gemini will really start to stir and spark those kinds of curious energies. So don't be surprised. And happy birthday to all of the Geminis. So just a few days later, on May 24th, there's another big astrological event. All of the big astrologers are talking about it. And of course, I just gave you a general overview. If you want to go deep and heavy, you can go listen to some other astrologers. In fact, I have a suggestion in a moment. But on this day, Saturn is moving into the sign of Aries. Now, Saturn is a planet that is known as like restrictive. This planet where Jupiter is very expansive, Saturn is restrictive. And it's associated with how we live. I mean, how we learn our lessons. It's associated with being like the archetypal father type of energy. Like, what are you doing? Be responsible, be accountable, hard work, be diligent, these sorts of things. But um, I personally love Saturn. It's funny. I recently had a reading and an astrology reading. And one of the first things the astrologer said to me is she's like, "You are a child of Saturn." It's like, yes, I know. But anyway, with Saturn moving into Aries, this is like a blend of, Saturn being more kind of ambitious and disciplined about it, and then Aries being very action oriented and audacious and not necessarily patient, right? So it's kind of like a fiery, go get 'em attitude, but we have to make sure that there is some structure because Saturn wants you to have some structure because it's not just about doing, it's about doing well. It's not just about doing, it's about doing right, doing correctly. Yeah. So you want to use this energy to channel again that fiery Aries energy. You want to channel it in such a way that is wise, that does have more structure. You don't want to be overly spontaneous or, get so excited that you start making choices and decisions without fully looking at the big picture or considering other potentials because it can get messy. Because Saturn will also hold us accountable to what we do, the choices we make. Okay. So be patient and keep your eye on the prize in this energy. And again, just be responsible for what you choose. Now, the last event of this month that I'm going to talk about is the new moon in Gemini, which happens on May 26th. And it is also a super moon, which means it's just closer in proximity than normal. So because it is in Gemini, you remember new moons are a time where we plant new seeds. The new moon is when the sun and the moon are in the same sign. We plant seeds of intention, but we're not necessarily acting on it yet. We're allowing the moon to start to wax back towards full as we work through the developments of whatever seed we've planted. Now, technically, some people will say whatever seed you plant during this new moon, because it's in Gemini, you kind of want to watch the way that it matures or the way that it grows, the way you feed into it, all the way until we have a full moon in Gemini, so that that cycle of the moon has worked its way from new to full in the same sign, from new to full in the same sign. So Gemini full moon, Gemini's opposite is Sagittarius. So the full moon in Gemini won't be until Sagittarius season, which is around probably that moon will be in December, either November, December. Um, so anyway, if you plant the seeds, whatever intentions you're setting during this new moon, just keep working at it and see how it all unfolds and progresses from now to the end of the year. But this new moon, again, because it's in Gemini, is going to put some emphasis on your friendships, your collaborations, the ways you are communicating, sharing your voice, getting your message out there. So, if any of these themes are resonating with you, if you have been having some consideration about nurturing your friendships, being more social, maybe working with others, doing some kind of collaboration or partnership, or you have been considering how you are using your voice. Do you want to write a book? Do you want a podcast? Do you need to get your message out there in a way that works for you? Now, I will say with that specifically, it is important that you use your voice in a way that works for you because everything is not for everyone. What works best for you? So, this season may activate and stir up these kinds of energies, but during this new moon, what intent, what seed are you planting around these kinds of themes? So it is a good time to also consider how you are speaking your mind and sharing your thoughts. So that is all, my friends, for our May energy of the month. Don't forget, if you have the Energetic Alchemist Oracle deck, you want to meditate on the teachings card this month. This is the teacher of the month. Put it on your altar, just take it out, journal about it, see what comes up for you. The Oracle deck, of course, comes with its own guidebook, so you can read the definition of the card as well. I also have Oracle School coming up in August. So if you're interested in that, that will be coming up in August. Don't forget that if you want to join me and some other Reiki teachers for a Reiki Mastery weekend, you want to make sure right now, hopefully you see this in time, use the link below to register to join us. It is not recorded, but it is live. So if you want to come and learn some new things from different teachers, it is a live event, and click on the link below to learn more. And also on Reiki Radio, we still have so many beautiful interviews to share with you. Currently, this week, the practitioner that we learned from this week is Rachel White, the skeptical shaman. Her episodes aired Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Be sure to check those out. She also invited me to be read by her. She did a reading for me using her flower essence oracle deck, and I will put the link for that down in the description for you as well. And then finally, just a little teaser. I have been working on something in the background for quite a while now, but it's finally going to be born into the world, and I can't wait to share it with you. It's really not about me, it's about other healers and practitioners, other teachers and practitioners that you can work with directly. I have been asked so much over the years if I know about reputable teachers or practitioners in different areas of the world, different areas of this country. And so I'm making it easy. And you will also hear from some new voices, people that perhaps you don't know of yet, but you absolutely should. And it'll be just great to share them, their work, their wisdom with you. So that will be coming soon. Stay tuned for that. And I will be also sharing information about people who potentially want to be contributors to this project as well. So stay tuned for that. All right, my loves, that is it. I think I told you everything that I needed to share with you. I hope you have a beautiful May. And oh, be sure wherever you're listening to the podcast, I really, really appreciate it if you leave a 5-star review. And if you go to YouTube and go to Reiki Radio, the YouTube channel, just follow the show. It means so much. It really helps us grow as a community. And of course, if you watch the interviews, be sure to like the videos because that helps as well. I don't understand all this algorithm stuff, but I do know that the ratings and the follows and all of this, it helps. So I really appreciate that you take the time to do that because it really is an honor to share with you all. All right. I will see you. Bye for now. Happy May.